No, not right now. You can wait. These are more important than you at the moment, I'm afraid. You've got plenty of feed out there. Good morning, everyone. What's going on? Ah, the sound of cockatoos. Don't you just love that? The buggers. They'll be waiting for me to tip this bucket of grain out, and then they'll go and eat it, as opposed to these lambs. So these are the lambs that we got just getting onto a bit of feed, with the idea being that there's not quite a paddock of crop ready for these to go on yet. So when they do go on it, we'll be able to put a feeder in with them and they'll know what that is, and then it'll make the crop go a bit longer. So I started them on about 30 grams a day, and just slowly increasing that number as their stomach gets used to it and the risk of acidosis lowers. So I might not have addressed it in the last video. The reason we put them in a small little paddock like this is because, you know, there's nothing in here for them to eat. So they're gonna get hungry, and then they're gonna start walking around and looking for food, and then they'll find the feeder like they are here now, and you know, that's how you teach them how to eat out of a trough, or, you know, things like that. But if they're out the paddock and they've got grass in the paddock, they're obviously not going to be, they're not intelligent enough to realise that there's higher quality and better tasting food in the feeder, and they won't sort of touch it. Really, the odd one might, but the majority of the sheep won't really go near it, unless you've got really sort of poor quality feed. So that's the reason. I don't think I said that in the last video, but that's the reason why we put them in a small little feedlot like this. Another cracking day. I think it's meant to get to 27 or 8 today. I think 30 on Friday, which it's nearly the 20th of March, so we're sort of 20 days into autumn and we're still getting 30 degrees, which is good. If the lucerne was ready, I'd cut it again today, but it's just, yeah, it's not quite good enough. There's not enough of it there really to warrant cutting it. I think Dad said, you know, the shorter you cut it, the shorter the roots are going to be, I guess, because that's, you know, if they're a bigger plant, they got more energy to put into putting their roots really deep down. I dug one up the other day, and it was probably that far in the ground off my leg, which I guess that's all right. I don't really know. I've never grown lucerne. I know they do get down a lot further, but it's only its second year, so maybe, and it hasn't really been stressed. I wouldn't say it's been stressed for water yet, definitely. So when it does get a bit dry, I guess it'll put its roots down a bit further. Rightio, so Maggie and I are just going up. Dad just wants a hand to shift some lambs across a creek, so we're going to go up and do that. They've been crawled onto, we got some oats put in up at Doughboy here, and the second cross lambs have been crawling on there, so we're just going to go shift them to a different paddock. Yeah, see how difficult there's one little creek crossing that we've got to get across. That there's always, if you've got sheep and you've got to get them across water, it's always a pain. They never want to go, which is understandable, but yeah, we'll see how we get on up here. Got them across the creek. We're just putting them into sprayed out paddock that's going into a bit of pasture. There's good green pick in there for these lambs. These will be shorn in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. There's some good lambs in them. They're all pretty good, actually. Black and white one there. So that's the merino coming out in them. Some merinos originally were black. Peloton Raffno kicking along nicely. Starting to fill in a bit now, which is good. Would have loved that rain the other day. Alright, so we're just discussing, because half of this paddock, or 6 hectares of this paddock's that Peloton Raffno, and then over the other side of the dam there, that's ryegrass. And we're going to split it in half. We'll run a fence along the dam here, because there's a trough in this side, but not that side. So just as figuring out what we're going to do, you can see the ducks are giving this around the dam here a bit of a hammering, but just a bit annoying, but it's not a lot we can do about that. Right, I just brought Old Faithful home. It's just sitting down the paddock there near the lucerne. Thought I'd better bring it back here, and we'll give it a check over now that it won't be used again this year, obviously, or this season I should say. It will be used at the end of the year probably for something, which is a good old thing. It's an old John Deere mower, but it's, what is it? It's a Moco 910. It's a good old thing, just a bit slow and small. It's only 2.6 metre cut, so no, it got me started at least. Alright, so we've just chucked, this thing's a post driver on the back of the tractor here. We're gonna, as I was just saying about fencing off that peloton and the ryegrass just then before, we're gonna drive some posts in and fence it off. I'll drive the posts in at least today anyway. And then we've got another few posts to drive in, or we'll concrete those ones in. Yeah, say what you want about driving versus concreting. I mean, concreting's obviously stronger, but I mean we've had no issues with driving them in whatsoever. Anywhere that if we were in doubt with anywhere, we just drove 2 steel posts in, sort of at the bottom on an angle, and then welded them to them. And yeah, touch wood, we've never had any issues with, apart from the odd one moving a touch. Never had any issues with just driving them in, but we've had concreted ones move as well, especially last year. We do a bit of both. We do a bit of concreting and driving them in. This is obviously a hell of a lot quicker, especially because we don't have like a lot of these ones have got a auger that swings around, and you can drill the hole and drive them in all in one. But this one, yeah, because we don't have that, this is a hell of a lot quicker. Yeah, you just pick your places where you concrete and versus drive. What you do anyway. Well, the old post hole driver was a bit much for this post. There was something, must have been something in the bottom there. I can't see what it is. Don't think it'd be a root, it must be a rock or something, but yeah, because I pre-drilled the stay holes, it's just buckled there. So we're gonna have to figure something else out there. I don't know what we're gonna do. I got the rest of them in, that was the last one. Because we drilled these holes before these trees were sown, they've just filled up with a bit of dirt, and so it was just easier just to bring the driver up here and drive them in there, and they had to go in sort of that far before we put some cement in there, rather than put the post hole digger back on, because I don't think you would have got that out with a shovel. It would be too hard now, too like compacted now. Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do with that. That might be deep enough that we can just cut a little bit off the top up here. It was nearly there, so that might have to be the go. There's not really anything we can really do. From memory, we did have trouble drilling that hole. That's that post buggered. So, as I said this morning, I think this paddock, because we're splitting it in half, we're cutting the dam off, and the dam will go in another bit of the paddock, and this side will have this trough here. So we bought this 300 acres in this little lot a number of years ago now, but luckily it was sort of already set up with a trough system in nearly every paddock. So I'd say we're pretty fortunate and just lucky that this was over this side of where we're splitting it off. So I'm just cleaning it out a bit. It hasn't had water in it for a long time, but there was just a bit of crap in the bottom of it that I'm just going to clean out, because lambs are going to come onto this peloton, and it's really important for them to have really clean water. Any of your stock to have clean water, but when you're trying to push maximum growth rates and things like that, you know, the higher quality water they have, the better they're going to do. So yeah, I'm just going to clean it out while I'm waiting for Daddy's just gone back. We're going to put an extra post in, we've figured out, just to make things easier mustering. So he's just gone back to get another post. About that for a sunrise. Alrighty, next morning now, we ended up putting the stays on all these posts yesterday afternoon, and then went home and did the other ones too. I saved you guys the backache and the sweat, so yeah, but I just thought I'd quickly finish this video off this morning. So what we're actually going to do, you know, now this morning while it's nice and cool and there's plenty of dew on the ground, is we're going to drive 2 steel posts in sort of opposite directions and then weld them to this, just to try and limit that chance of it moving. So that's what we're going to do this morning, just because we're not concreting them in, and this is, you know, this will be a permanent fence and it's on a block that we own, so we may as well make it as strong as we can. Look at that, the bugger. Bloody wombat's trying to dig up the stay.
So let's own it. It's gonna be a good day.